Hello everyone, this is StrawberryShorty, back with another installment of The Letter, and we're just gonna jump right into it because the humming is distracting. So we're Zachary right now. The next 2 days rush by in a blur, altogether leaving a collective mess of work suddenly piling up and new unexpected acquaintances. Or friends? Depends on how you look at it, really. Either way, I'm stuck developing these photos at 3 in the morning to reach a deadline set by an overeager art director. Don't get me wrong, Julius is good, has a vision, and knows what he wants. But damn, he can be too enthusiastic sometimes.
Doesn't matter when you couldn't sleep anyway.
There's nothing new in it, of course. After years of working as a freelance photographer, it's simply something I have grown used to. Get to know people, build a client base, do good work, and cash in some late hours if need be. Rinse and repeat. Certainly takes a while to get some footing on the field, but it's the kind of thing that pays off in the long run as long as you keep doing it. Keep at it. Given enough time, you might end up with big names on your client list, names like the Wrights in particular. I never did pay much attention to them, but it's virtually impossible not to hear about them when a local news channel or paper has something to say on their name. A party here, an acquisition there. Sometimes it's a new business venture, other times it's the everyday gossip that typically follows popular people like them. Not in a million years did I ever imagine I would end up working for such a high-profile couple. And between that and the fuss that comes with, it leaves me no time to ponder over whatever happened to Isabella or why Ash is so adamant we keep away from the pair.
They do seem like the good folk, though, despite the whole fame thing.
Isn't this after you had that little thing with Luke? Sure, there was a rumor running around years ago about him being involved in some business scandal. But just like every gossip blown out of proportion by the media, nothing came of it, and eventually it simply died down. Much is definitely left to be said for the husband, but I doubt a woman like Miss Wright would pick him if he doesn't have any good points at all. Miss Wright. Hannah herself, though. She ain't particularly bad the way the press makes her out to be. It's a nice photo of her. The tabloids had it all wrong, that's for sure. For someone born with a silver spoon in her mouth, well, she ain't exactly what I was expecting. Among other things, the newfound friendship is what I least expected from her, but here we are. Although with a life as public as the Wrights, no wonder it's the woman who often gets the creepy end of the stick. I can't help but feel sorry for her. She's a real nice person when given the chance. Heck, she might have even ended up friends with Rebecca and Isabella too, if they weren't living worlds apart. Probably. The beep quickly pulls me back before my thoughts travel any further. In one practice motion, I carefully place the wet print I'm holding on a drying rack and amble over to my makeshift darkroom to get the last photos from the water bath. Inside the converted broom closet, the film processor lets out another soft clack before going on its standby mode. At its mouth, a lone photograph sits on the tray, barely visible with the lack of light. I feel like we're about to see a ghost. It's the last one tonight for the set Miss Wright requested. I don't usually make this a habit, giving away stuff, that is. It's bad for the business, no matter how well-intentioned or generous you are. This exception, however. She did treat me well and was a pleasant companion throughout the shoot. Even if she didn't ask, I would have probably given her a few prints just for the hell of it. Miss Wright ain't such a bad subject matter to begin with. And maybe this is just me, but for someone who has everything in the palm of her hands, all the money in the world, a loving husband, and a plenty big mansion to call home, she's lonely. She doesn't just appear like it. It shows in the tone of her voice, how she moves, and most certainly in her smiles. Always hidden behind the glamour for the real world to never see. Sometimes for people like her, small things like these help. A little reminder that the world can be kind too. Water drips from the paper as I blindly pick it up and gently lay it on another tray holding a decent amount of photo flow. A few seconds under the solution is all it needs before it's ready for drying. No good rushing this last one even if my body's already screaming for some decent snooze. My hand fumbles for the light switch, moving towards it with familiarity, while I fish for a squeegee among the mess of tools on a drawer with the other. The bulb flickers twice before its glow settles and casts a soft light in the tiny space. When I glance back down, squeegee in hand, ready to finish the process of finally calling it a night.
What on earth?
Is it a ghost? I knew it! Her head is gone. It's not gone, it's right there. Blurred and distorted beyond recognition, rather. The area completely smudged over, leaving no trace of the same sweet smile the good woman carried on all the previous prints.
Damn, that was too careless.
A common mistake to make, of course, if one is negligent enough to pick a newly processed photo in the dark, like I apparently did. It has happened before, loads of times actually, but I still can't help but feel a small pang of frustration over one mistake a newbie would likely make. With a sigh, I reach up for the switch again, intending to develop a new one from scratch.
It could pass off for one of those supernatural pictures they show on TV, though.
The memory clicks, one cursory thought in the sea of many, and a short yet distinct second from the day before. A glimpse is all I got, but it's enough to burn the image in my mind. There was a shadow. No. A woman. In her 20s or early 30s, maybe? With how far gone her flesh alone had become. It's not possible to tell at first glance. The skin itself has already taken a sickly pale color, rotten in most parts, blood dripping from every open gash and lesion on her body. Bony hands grip Miss Wright's neck like a noose, staining the skin underneath with a vibrant shade of scarlet. Nothing but malice fills the gleam in her eyes.
Zachary?
Not for me, but for Miss Wright.
Zach? Is something the matter?
Oh, no, there's nothing wrong. I just remembered something I saw. Let's get back to the pictures. Can you move a bit more to the left, yeah?
Memory alone is enough to make me retch. Some of Hannah's shots from the photo shoot the day before came out distorted after Zachary developed them. He would have almost dismissed it as human error if he hadn't remembered a chilling memory from yesterday's shoot. I brushed it off then. A trick of the eye, I told myself, or a product of the heat. The weather has been unexpectedly warm recently, so it shouldn't be too surprising for such things to happen. And, while blaming this on the usual fatigue, an overworked brain, the weather, or an amateur error on my part is far more convenient. It makes a whole lot of sense than what the small voice inside my head whispers. The same tiny voice that only makes itself known when something's afoul. The same one that lent a curious ear to Isabella's worries about the mansion. And with each second I spend staring at this photograph, the murmurs in my head only grow louder against my ears. Someone has to know. Well, Hannah is currently having an issue, so let's show it to Ash. Ash will give me flack for this, he will. I can already hear what he's going to say about this the moment I bring it up. Hell, before he even sees anything, I'll wager. The guy's a skeptic through and through, and it'll take more than my account for him to even consider this. But when you've been there, seen something enough to raise the hairs at the back of your neck and leave you wanting to flee or hide, what he thinks is the least of my concerns. I am no hero. That's a title best reserved for someone else. Still, if this will help him change his mind, it's worth a try. Isabella's gone and done the same thing, didn't she? Outside, the sun is yet to rise. I've still got a few hours before dawn, good enough time to mull over how I'll go about this with him. Plenty of space to check if I'll get the same result if I redo the process again. The film processor hums back to life at my touch, the light switch gives out a soft click, and darkness embraces the small closet again.
Somehow those urban legends don't sound so silly now.
Sometimes, I wish Ash would make himself easier to find. 24 messages, 13 phone calls, and one visit to his flat later. I still have no idea which rock in Luxborn he went off to hide under again. The guy has his own place, but refuses to stay in it. Has his own phone, but doesn't answer any of his calls or give any indication he's gotten my messages. Most of the time, he'll just show up at my front door. Sometimes in the middle of the night, complaining how uncomfortable it is to sleep at the back of his Shirley, his car. As if the old couch in my flat is any better. Why doesn't he just sleep at his place? Nothing new from him, though. A bit frustrating, really. There's the police precinct, of course. And again, he's not there most of the time either, and if that's also true for today, he's likely out on another stakeout. There's nothing much to do for me but wait if that's the case.
Let's just hope I'm lucky enough today.
Well, Luxborn is a relatively peaceful city boasting a low crime rate. Its precinct stays abuzz with activity. Wonder if we'll see that officer guy. As soon as I open the glass front doors, murmurs coming from the people waiting in the lobby welcome me. Officers can occasionally be seen shuffling in and out of the rooms, greeting civilians with a casual smile and a polite nod. Some, though, look a little worse for wear, like their receptionist who looked at me with so much disdain the moment I arrived. Thankfully, I won't have to deal with him today. Before I can even step in, Ashton's voice, though low, comes from the hallway adjacent to the lobby.
Not even for just 1 minute?
No. The case was dismissed, remember?
You were the one handling that case.
If you want access to those records, you've got to ask Chief. I was taken off it before shit went to hell. Why do you even bother? Even Professor Clark seems to have given up on that.
Well, never mind, you won't understand.
I'm cursed and I'm seeing ghosts.
Right. I know you owe Professor Clark a lot, but the right guy isn't just someone you mess with. They've got the money. Who knows what else gets swept under the rug with them involved.
That takes a special kind of ignorant not to know.
And a smart person to know which boundaries he can't cross. You're a bright guy, you'll figure it out. In any case, I've got to get going. Another missing person case on my hand. Benjamin on the front desk looks like he's about to maul someone after the fourth one yesterday. Murders, people missing, what a time to be alive. Man, I miss the old Luxburn.
You and me both. I'll see ya. Gonna go grab some lunch.
He notices me first as soon as he enters the lobby and pauses. Confusion briefly crosses his face until I fish out the phone from my pocket and wave it up. Frowning, he pulls his own mobile out, wordlessly fiddling with it for a few seconds before sighing heavily. There ain't any annoyance in him when he glances up, though. Only mild exasperation at what might be a hint of amusement.
Stop taking pointers from Isabella. This is gonna get old soon.
At least use your phone properly.
It's an alarm clock, a good note-taking device, a halfway decent camera, and maybe a music player too. if I'm being nice. What else do I need it for?
I don't know, keeping in contact, maybe?
When he merely shrugs, I know I've struck a chord. He's far from holding a piece of technology in contempt, of course. Ash has always been nothing but practical from the start, and technology is useful. Only, when he gets too focused on one thing like a case he's handling, he tends to forget there are other things around him. A little reminder and a nudge in the right direction can get him a long way.
I've got an email on that social media site the girls roped us into joining.
That doesn't make any sense. Also, you've got an account before any of us had one.
For policing purposes? Anyway, why are you here? I thought you have something scheduled today. Or was that yesterday?
That was yesterday. Look, about that. There's something I want you to see.
He stops me with a tap on my shoulder, walks past me straight to the door, and gestures with his head towards their very irked receptionist, who I raise an eyebrow in question.
Over lunch. I haven't eaten anything since last night, and Benjamin there doesn't really like loiterers around here.
Wordlessly, I follow after him, but not after sending the poor guy behind the table an apologetic smile. As expected, he takes a seat in the farthest corner of the cafe, a good way from the window, but easily allows a view of who comes and goes. Secluded enough not to be disturbed by the lunch hour rush or be overheard by a curious bystander. If I didn't know this is lunch he invited me to, I would automatically assume I got dragged into another stakeout. After years of knowing him, though, this has simply become one of the many habits he has I've gotten used to. Food arrives minutes later. Ooh, this looks much better. Why is Ash drawn in the cup? A slice of their vegetarian quiche for me. Meanwhile, Ashton has opted for a cup of coffee plus a gracious serving of...
You having cake for lunch?
He shrugs and then proceeds to dig in without even a hint of remorse. Frankly, it's like seeing a child get his Christmas present early.
Don't tell Becca. I'll get an earful. It's just for today.
You should listen to her, though. The kind of work you do, you'll need to eat something other than sweets. I don't want to see you drop dead in front of my apartment again.
I told you, just this once. Have you been hanging out with Becca lately? You're beginning to sound like her.
Nah, just for some recipes. But she has the right to worry, you know? It's like she's taking care of two kids. One bitch is on sweets, while the other on cup noodles. At least Bella knows how to cook.
Hey, I can at least boil something.
I suspect you can't.
Wait, that's easy, right? I mean, you just put water in and...
No, don't even think about it. You destroyed your own kitchen once by sticking a pressure cooker on it. I think my sister is a whole lot better than you. And this is coming from someone who has no other choice but to eat her cooking for some time.
To be fair, he genuinely appears offended at that last remark. Hate will be too strong a word to describe how Sis and him usually interact whenever they're in the same room. Though whatever appropriate word it is, I can say with most certainty that the feeling's mutual for both. Ash thinks she nags him too much, while Sis thinks he's a trouble magnet I should stay away from. They are both technically right on their assessment.
How's your sister, by the way? Still bullying white guys?
I don't know what to pick. I'll just say she's married.
You do know she's married to one now.
Alright, good. We picked the right choice.
I hope she doesn't end up poisoning him with her cooking.
Pot calling the kettle black?
She can't be better than me.
Actually, she is now. They're planning to start a restaurant sometime in the future.
I was bedridden for days after eating some of the stuff she whipped up. And now you're letting her cook for other people?
Ash prefers to eat the meat he finds in the walls of Dracula's castle.
Don't exaggerate. It was just for one day, and you're the one who refused to leave your apartment. You should come by, though. Sis gave birth a few days ago. Girl, I've only seen the pictures. But I might visit sometime after everything's settled down. Too many backlogs to go through for now.
Everyone's having babies, but Hannah.
No way in hell. She'll just find something to criticize again. Last time, it was Shirley.
He makes a show of being utterly mortified, though I'm quite sure he doesn't mean any of that. He might not say it straight out, but I'm pretty sure he's enjoying the small visits whenever he can. Something about it reminds him of his own family, sort of like making up for the one he never got back after his parents separated. Sore spot, that one topic. One thing he never ever brings up in any conversation if he can help it, and I've never seen the need to be nosy. There are some wounds you're just not meant to open, and for the both of us, the sentiment goes the same way.
As if you ain't already on a shit list. You're just afraid of her.
In your dreams, but I'll think about it. Can't just drop this thing at the moment.
His change in tone is subtle, but his aggravation over the matter hangs completely palpable in the air.
Still no closer?
The opposite, actually. There's been some slip-ups here and there. Careless mistakes, and let's just say I'm waiting for him to make another one. What about you? How are things on your end?
All piled up on top of the other. But I can manage. Still recovering from the expenses for the movie, so the surge in new projects helps.
Show him the photo.
Well, there's this one thing.
Yay! The expression on his face grows more puzzled with each photo I spread on the table. There's about 8 of them. All of it reprints at the same thing, Miss Wright's distorted head on the photos. He takes a minute to go through each, eyeing the prints warily. The furrow on his brow doesn't ease even as he gathers all of it into one pile and sets them in one neat stack in front of me with a heavy sigh. That's another issue, a lot of repeated words. Doesn't sound good in writing.
Hana, right?
Yeah.
Is that the part you noticed?
How did you...
The locket. She never takes it off.
She took it off.
Evan's family heirloom.
I won't even think about asking why or how he knows that. If he's investigating them, he'll likely have already dug up every imaginable dirt on them, including family history. Should be like a comma there.
Are you done with your work with them?
Yesterday, yeah. It's just a small feature for a magazine. Interviews, photos, standard stuff, nothing big. But see, here's the thing. I don't know how else to put this out there without sounding crazy, but there really is something odd with that place. Remember the letter?
He drags in a breath, reaches up his nose and pinches it like the action alone will help grant him all the patience in the world to continue this conversation.
Please tell me this isn't about that again.
No, Ash, you've got to listen this time.
I am listening, and I can't believe that just came out of your mouth.
You wait, she's gonna get you too.
These are some blurred out photos, and that letter is just a stupid prank. I expected this from Isabella, not you.
See, I have to warn him, because it's gonna happen to him. We know it is. And I think we've already lost Hana.
You're the photographer here. I don't see any need to get worked up over this.
I know what you mean, but would you hear me out first?
Ash leans back on his seat and doesn't say anything further. He gestures for me to continue with a wave of his hand, impatience clearly on his face. Any other person telling him this, and he'll walk out without batting an eye. I suppose the only reason he's giving me the benefit of the doubt is because we know each other.
Ash, I don't easily buy into these things as much as you do. Yesterday, though, behind Hana.
He blinks at that, his eyebrows lifting momentarily before settling into a deep frown.
Hana? Since when were you on a first-name basis with the right missus?
Why does that even matter?
I thought you said this was just a gig.
His voice stays level, but the accusation in it is clear as day. It hits a nerve in me somehow, more than the tone usually does. I do get where he's coming from, but... I gotta say this. That's not the point. Of all things I said, my connection to the rights is the first thing he points out. I don't care, Ash. I don't care if I got into minuses with you. I'm being honest. As much as I want to keep my own annoyance at bay, I can't stop him from seeping into my voice.
That's completely beside the point here, Ash.
I warned you, Zach.
I get it, alright? But you can't just expect me to turn it down after I made a commitment to a client. I've got to put food on my table.
I didn't say you shouldn't, but you should not be messing with them.
I wasn't messing with them.
And this isn't?
He weighs the photos in front of me before dropping the pile on the table with a loud smack. I don't need to look to know we've already attracted some attention from the lunchtime crowd. Besides, turning away from him feels almost the same as admitting he's right. There are things more important than his damn case right now. I wish he'd see that.
It was a job, and that ain't how these photos were intended to come out. You think I'd go out of my way just to edit something like this? There's something weird going on here.
And you think Luke Wright will see it that way? You think the right missus will find it amusing?
I did not do this for my amusement, Ash. People's lives might be at stake here.
If you understood that in the first place, we wouldn't be having this stupid talk.
Darn skeptics!
Luke fucking Wright is a dangerous man, Zach.
Is he more dangerous than a ghost?
Keep hanging around them and you'll find yourself burnt to a crisp in your apartment or floating down a river 3 days later.
It's more time than I got with the ghost.
This case is...
Will you stop talking about the damn case for once and just listen to me? Why do you think Isabella's...
Don't you dare bring her into this. We're talking about you and this stupid...
Oh, of course you don't want to talk about it. Because you're fucking afraid there's some damn truth to what she's saying now that there's two of us.
Every expression drains from his face as soon as the words are out of my mouth. They've hit their mark. Each utterance scathes, sharp with nothing but anger and the truth. Yet they are also things I won't typically say out loud in good company, and rather ease people into before letting it fall. Almost immediately, a wave of regret washes over
Ash,
me.
dude, that ain't what I meant to...
You said enough, Zach.
Without another word, he stands, his chair scraping loudly against the floor, all of my brain races to find something to fix this. Ours ain't a fragile friendship by any means. I like to think we've gone past the stage where we find everything the other says insulting. But there are times when letters and phrases alone cut deeper than any blade. Mine might even leave a scar. He doesn't let me, however. Instead, he sets a card in front of me. The name is familiar, but amidst the cloud of remorse swirling inside my head, I can't bring myself to recall where I've seen it. That's the priest guy.
You shouldn't be running blind. Call this guy. He'll be less inclined to shout at you. Might even talk some sense into you.
Not a ghost is gonna get him. I don't see his face when he leaves, and it's only when the store's bell chimes again do I breathe. Disturbed, Zachary decided to show the photographs to Ashton. During lunch at the coffee house, they briefly discussed Zach's sister before the topic veered onto the photos. Refusing to believe his friend, Ashton advised him to talk to Andrew instead. Then Andrew dies, and Ashton has to believe us. You almost can't wait for the ghost to get Ash, just so you could be like, we told you. Of all the places, it never crossed my mind I'd end up wandering into the public library today, considering I rarely ever visited. Somehow, there has always been a kind of disconnect between me and books in general. Sure, some of them held my attention in my youth during the brief times of the day I was left to my own with nothing to do. I went through the whole of Grant's collection, as a matter of fact. Read all of them twice or thrice even, but they never did hold it for long. Most of it never even sticked. Especially after I learned it's simply easier to do things myself if I want to learn stuff. This ain't in the plan in the first place. But after that argument, I really don't have any other choice. Nothing but quiet greets me inside, though. Not the typical mum one would associate with a library, but one akin to a hush prior to an impending trouble. Or perhaps I'm just overthinking again. I really like to think I'm just thinking too much about this. That this is just the lack of sleep talking. Regardless, apart from a group of students murmuring in a corner somewhere, the place is free of its usual visitors. All while my footsteps echo in a manner unsettling enough to raise the hairs at the back of my neck. Much to my relief, it does not take me long to find him, being the only occupant in this side of the room. Professor Andrew Clark. So we actually went to see this guy? I never personally met the man, but Ash has spoken highly of him several times. In fact, he is Ash's go-to guy when something's troubling him with a case. My steps are unsure as I approach. At any rate, he greets me with a warm smile like a grandson he hasn't seen in a long time.
Ashton's friend, I take it. Zachary.
Do you believe in ghosts?
You'll have to forgive this old man if I don't get your name right.
Oh, no, you got it. It's Zach. Zachary Steele, Professor Clark.
He gestures at the empty seat across the table while he returns to his books. I hope you don't die, man. You seem nice. The next couple of minutes pass in relative silence as he continues to read and take notes from the pile he's accumulated on the table. Maybe I should have taken a book first before heading here. But before I can even get far into that idea, the professor clicks the book shut and sets it atop the stack next to him.
Ashton told me you were hoping to get answers from me.
In my confused look, he lets out a small
He
chuckle.
sent a message ahead. A friend needs to have some sense knocked into him. In verbatim. That boy never changes.
I wasn't really expecting you to do that.
Although I'm not quite sure what I could share, I'll do my best to help.
Of course, there are a lot of things I want to ask. How do we get out of this mess in the first among tens, hundreds of concerns in my head? But in the presence of someone I barely know, the thoughts won't easily form. He is nothing but patient, however, and with enough time to mull over, a question finally
Do you
forms.
believe in the paranormal, Professor?
It's supernatural, actually. Don't worry. It's a common mistake to make. But they really are two different things.
Change my mind, I hope the ghost gets you.
The other one deals with what we can't explain at the moment, while the other are things we may not have an explanation to. Here.
He places a couple papers in front of me, the very same one he was writing on earlier. A study of Luxborn's supernatural culture and another.
A friend of mine wrote that a few years ago. He took interest in the city after reading about the stories. I have to agree with him here. Even stories dealing with things you don't see with the naked eye can be rife with culture. And this city thrives on it. Just ask the locals.
Like ghosts, for example.
Among other things. The interpretation has changed over the years, though. Various religions, for example, have their own version. It might not always be a spirit now. It could be a memory, or an imprint, an echo, so to speak. Some are born from curses, even. Out of great anger, hatred, or pain. There was this one story. Here it is.
Another book is pulled out from the stack and placed open atop the papers, while he speaks with such passion that it makes me wonder if some part of him believes these to be true. It is interesting, though, even if I'm personally not a fan of such stories. And soon hours pass without my notice. I want to know the story!
In the end, it asked for something to be sacrificed in order to destroy whatever anchors the wraith. A sad tale, that one. But the simplest grudge can bring the ugliest, even in the kindest person, with some people none the wiser. Oh, I'm sorry. I just went on.
Nah, it's good. Are you familiar with the Ermengarde Mansion, though?
Of course. That goes without saying. Who hasn't heard of the local legend? Although, word of the mouth is, someone has already bought it.
Yeah. The right couple. It was a close friend who handled that sale.
So I heard. Well, don't think the house being bought by anyone would stop us from talking about it. What is it about the mansion, then?
I just want to ask what you think of it, sir.
We're going to need more than an afternoon for that, young man. You see, it's the kind that has changed over the years, passed down from one person to the next. Sometimes, it's the Lord William who haunts the place. There are versions where it's the lady of the house, but my favorite, a personal favorite, would have to be the ones that followed after the disappearance of the kind daughter.
Well, what about these then?
There is a moment of hesitation on my part before I pull out Miss Wright's photos and lay them all in front of him. Unlike Ash, though, the professor inspects each print with great interest. That gives me some hope, at least.
When were these taken?
Just the other day. Do you think those are the same?
Perhaps. Perhaps not. There were certainly instances when the film would pick up what the human eyes weren't able to see, but then it could also have been human error.
I didn't edit it in any way. You have my word on that, Professor. They all just came out like that.
Then, if it is what you're thinking, I'd strongly advise against doing something reckless and further tangling with them. Accounts about them may be riveting to you, but most of it often ends in an unpleasant manner.
What about those people in the house? If there is something in there, shouldn't they know? I'm sure they're already familiar with the legends, but...
Some people might deserve it, however.
Whoa.
Deserve what, sir?
All of a sudden, the tenderness in the professor's eyes disappears, his face becoming unreadable. As though catching himself, he hastily clears his throat, gathers his books, and rises from his seat.
Professor?
I'm sorry. I just remembered something I neglected to do. You'll have to excuse me, Zachary.
All right. Do you need any help with that?
Don't let my looks fool you, son. I can still carry a few hundreds. I've been doing this for years. I'll see you some other time if you have any other questions.
See, Ash, your professor friend believes me.
Of course. It was nice knowing you, Professor.
Well, that's ominous. He doesn't hear it, however. The next victim. Zachary met with Professor Andrew Clark at the library. The professor shared a few of his favorite stories about the city, including a friend's research about its urban legends. When Zach showed Hana's distorted photos, the professor only warned him not to be reckless and that some people deserve what's coming for them. In a few short strides, he's out of the library, leaving me and every piece of this whole mess amidst the oppressive stillness. Despite the answers gleaned, more questions surfaced. If there is even a single way out of this, I hope we find it soon. The moon is well into the night sky by the time I make it back home. The heavy treads and sound of traffic outside echoing in my ears, filling the empty room with some semblance of life. Nana would scold me if she ever hears me walk like that, but after today, I can't really give a damn about everything. You don't mean talk like that? The mattress creaks under my weight as I unceremoniously flop down on it, and I find myself looking at the paper under my grip. An invitation and a request to cover an event, the Wright's housewarming party tomorrow evening. If only it were that easy, but it'll give me a chance to talk to her. About that thing in their house. With a sigh, I let my hand fall to the side of the bed along with the invitation. I'll think about it tomorrow when my head ain't muddled with thoughts of a headless woman and the haunting smiles of a ghost. Belatedly, it occurs to me that the last meal I ate had been the one with Ashton, and an empty, gnawing ache makes itself known, but I can't bring myself to stand up. Today was a complete waste of time, and frankly, a disappointment. I don't like this. The lack of certainty that is quiet, the lack of stable ground to stand on, the part where I do not know what will come tomorrow. Ever since that damn letter, everything has been thrown out of the loop. I wish everything stayed the same. Routine would have been easier to make sense of than this. Closing my eyes, I let the noise from the streets below lull me to sleep. At the very least, that's the one thing that hasn't changed. The melody carries into the hall long before I cross the threshold. Solemn but gentle and soothing, a reminder of what home is. Pa's firm but meaningful gaze, Ma's wistful smiles, the warm rays filtering through the eaves at sunset, the distinct smell of wet earth and leaves after a long day's rain, and our room. The room, Ma and Pa's pride and joy, a place where we once promised several springs ago. Yet it won't stop.
No, wait! Come back! I'll be good this time! Please don't leave! Please stay!
The floorboards are cold under my feet more than it usually is. The walls more forbidding than what I'm used to. Farther and farther the room goes. Ma's singing ceases and Pa. I can't hear Pa. Not above the raucous clanging and the deafening roar of gunshots, nor the screams replacing the comforting soft melody. There's only the blinding fear. When the light breaks, her skin has already taken a sickly pale color, rotten in most parts, blood dripping from every open gash and lesion on her body. Bony hands grip Hannah's neck like a noose, staining the skin underneath with a vibrant shade of scarlet. Nothing but malice fills the gleam in her eyes. A scream ripples through the air. My whole body feels distant. Every limb heavy with lead, all unable to move at will. Feels like a quick-time event is about to happen. Not even so I can wipe the beads of sweat forming at my temple. The rasping of my breath easily fills the room in the wee hours, while I force it back into a steady rhythm. There is a tightness in my chest I can't shake off, my heart pounding against it as if it's about to burst out. Something cold has settled in my legs. Not the usual chill that comes and goes with a passing breeze from the window, but one strong enough to sting, shackle, and leave a frigid sensation creeping up my skin. With every struggle I make, the pressure winds firmly around my legs. Tighter, and tighter, and tighter. All until it becomes too much. My heart stops. Another draft swoops into the room and brings with it the iron tang of blood. Thick, suffocating, filling my nose with a foul, sickening smell as I shift my gaze downwards and it slowly comes into view. mouth stretched into a hideous smile and eyes brimming with nothing but madness. The stench of gore taints the air around me, and I can't look away from it, her, from the terror and death that her uncanny, twisted features alone scream. I try to open my mouth to shout, to ask for any help, but my voice has left my body altogether. All I have is the painful realization that no kind of plea will ever save me from her. And suddenly, the bed dips. Oh, no quick time event. The brutal plunge back into myself jerks me awake. There was no ear-splitting scream, no wild thrashing of limbs, just a painful, constricting awareness that something has wound itself tightly around my neck. I waste no second pulling it, a blanket, away, before allowing myself a few minutes to steady my breathing before getting out of bed. Maybe we gotta get less noose-like blankets. Inhale, hold, exhale. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. But the dreams have gotten worse. Ever since 2 days ago, no longer are they the small cursory flashes that I'm used to, but vivid ones that linger. I can still feel the blood in my hands, the putrid smell of rotting flesh, the sickening crunch of bones breaking with every movement, and her cold, chilling eyes as they bore into me. I draw in one long, ragged breath, and before I know it, I'm walking out the door. Even in the waking world, it reeks. A bench in the park is far from the most private place for thoughts in Luxburn, considering its location at the heart of the bustling city. But in the early hours of the morning, it provides enough peace and quiet for any poor problematic soul who happens to wander here. The city is just waking up, a little later than usual, but knowing what day it is, one can't fault it for being a little tardy just this once. Yet neither the pleasant morning chill nor the soft twittering of birds does anything but banish the images. Every single one has rooted itself in my head, its claws digging deep in what is no longer a safe place to hide in.
London Bridge is falling down, falling down.
It used to be easy, finding some pretense of peace under the guise of sheer optimism, following regular routine. Now I don't know what to make of it.
Lock him up.
Sometimes it's easier to run, easier to hide when everything's falling apart. That way, you don't have to be the first to witness it when it does. Oh gosh, it's on repeat. It worked when things went bad with the movie, after all. It also worked when Mom and Pa were taken from us. Maybe it really is better if I just...
Hey, mister!
Thank goodness. The tiny voice gives me pause. When I look up, a little girl, maybe about 6 or 7, is peering at me. Why does she have blue hair? 2 wide eyes overflowing with what can only be the natural curiosity one typically sees in children. I vaguely note the St. Geretta uniform she's wearing before returning her greeting.
Hey kid.
Kylie!
Oh, this is, Luke's goddaughter.
Kylie?
That's my name. Mama said it's rude not to call people by their names.
She then flops down on the empty space beside me. Her little legs, still too short to touch the ground, swing in tune with a song she hums under her breath. I don't mind kids. I would often invite the ones in our old neighborhood to give them treats. Of course, by then Sis and I were both too old to play with them, but you get used to the commotion eventually. It's not completely as unpleasant as most people would imply. Kylie seems to be a well-behaved kid anyway.
Oh, sorry. Nice to meet you, Kylie.
Oh, does it say how old she's supposed to be? 6 or 7. Where are your parents?
Is Mama here?
No, but my big brother's with me. He's taking pictures with his camera over there.
She points to the far end of the park, the one closest to the street, where a kid is taking shots of something above him. It doesn't look to be birds because all there is on that side of the park are buildings.
I don't see what's so interesting with the tip of a building, though. I'd take pictures of dogs if I were him. They're cuter. Do you have a camera too, mister?
Yeah, I'm actually a photographer.
Mama said I'm too young to get a camera.
I'm sure your mama will eventually give you one. But won't you be late for school like this?
Big brother will get us there on time. Rowan promised Papa. We aren't going to be late. It's sports day. So it's not good if you keep looking like that today. If it ends up raining and we lose, it's your fault.
All right, I'll try not to upset the clouds today, kid.
Is it because you're sick, mister?
Before I know it, a smile spread over my face. They say kids ask the toughest questions sometimes, and they sure do, with how sincere Kylie looks. Lying feels like doing her a huge disservice.
Not sick. Just having a very, very bad day.
Why is that? Is that like when my big brother ate all of my pudding? He did that once and then cried. It wasn't very nice of him.
I accidentally hit the wrong button.
Yeah, I think so. You see, there's this mean girl. She's given my friends and I a lot of trouble. I even got in a fight with my best friend because of her.
Oh, the ghost.
Hard to keep up when things are like that, you know? Especially when you can't do anything. It's kind of scary. Makes you wish things will just stay as peaceful as they used to be.
Maybe she just wants to be friends with you?
I highly doubt that. She already hurt one of my friends.
What if she's just sad? Or maybe she just wants help. That's what happened with Melody. I let her borrow my crayon when she left hers.
We just have to give the ghost the crayon.
Now we're playmates.
It's not really the same thing, Kylie. What she did, they're pretty bad things.
I still think there's another reason.
I think the ghost wants help.
Did you try talking to her? That's what Mama said I should do.
I don't think that'll work either.
To be fair, none of you has tried talking to
You
her.
haven't even tried yet. You sound like Rowan. You're just scared, mister.
That strikes a chord. Maybe it's the honesty in her tone or simply the truth in the words itself. I don't know why, but I can't help it. I laugh. Loud enough to disturb an elderly couple taking a leisure walk nearby.
Why are you laughing?
That's nothing. You're a really smart kid, you know that?
That's what I've been doing, ain't it? Go full speed ahead, then backtrack when going gets tough. Stay in my safe zone because that's what I know. Once Dr. Navarro said I should be the first one willing to deal with my problems before anyone else. I didn't show up to our next appointment after that, but he's right. And though I hate to admit it, knowing what I've seen, but the kid makes a good point too. I've been so caught up in thinking there might not be a way out. Maybe there isn't, or maybe there is, but that doesn't mean I should just leave it up to fate. Are spirits supposed to be humans before too? Had people they cared about lived a life of their own, smiled and laughed like the rest of us do? Do they really lose all of it after
You
death?
better get to school, though, or you'll miss sports day. You should have won yourself some awards, alright?
Alright. Can I show it to you when I do? That can cheer people up, right?
In the distance, her brother calls for her, and I took that as a sign to leave. Got things to do, to face, the first few steps.
Nah, I'm good now, I think. Thanks to you. Besides, Mister needs to go, but you should show it to Mama and Papa. I'm sure they'll be proud of you, Kylie.
I will. Thanks, mister. Bye.
I gave her a little pat on the head before heading my way. A small gesture of thanks from a stranger she didn't know she might have helped. She may not understand it now, even though at such a young age she's already has this understanding of things. But maybe when she's older, when the world no longer seems too big for
But
her.
aren't you going to help me, mister?
With what?
Confused, I glanced back. Oh boy. Whatever cheer our little talk brought has vanished under the shadows, suddenly dancing in her eyes. The frigid air is almost definitely not how the morning chill should feel, like bitter, stinging, unwelcoming. And the kid...
What do you think, mister? Are you going to help me?
She's got another one!
What do you want from us?
The response never comes, however, because when I blinked... gone.
Hello? Mister? Are you okay?
For several passing seconds, I let my stare linger on her face, waiting for any sign of another change. But all that remains is there is that carefree smile of a child. None of the spite, none of the cold, bloody smile. I keep clicking quit.
Nothing. I really need to go, Kylie. It was nice meeting you.
See you again, mister!
I break into a run. Zachary met with... Wait. New date. Oh, look at Kylie drawing. Zachary's nightmares became worse with each passing day. To help clear his mind of the unwanted images, Zach took a visit to the park. There he met Kylie Suarez, a precocious young girl studying at St. Corinne. I break into a run. I don't look back, not even as I bump into a couple of passersby as soon as I'm out on the busy streets. Going insane. This is what this is. And if we don't do something soon, we all will be. The tremors follow me even as I get home. I had hoped a little stroll around the block for a few hours would help. Instead, I am assaulted with more images of her. Her smile, the loathing in her eyes, the stench of gore, the horrid crunch that comes with every movement she makes. Even old memories have been sullied by her, and Mom's song no longer sounds as sweet as it meant to be. In the end, all I got is a sinking feeling I will never be rid of her image, and another ridiculous idea that may or may not even work. The sun is already hanging low on the horizon when I make it back, and for the first time, coming home feels more like a chore. Only, I didn't arrive to an empty room, because as soon as I open the door, I'm greeted by none other than...
Sup, Z-Man?
I told you we should have called him before going here.
It's fine.
It is Ashton I see first, sitting comfortably on my couch and munching on a bag of chips with both feet propped atop the coffee table. Whatever proverbial stone has made a home at the pit of my stomach automatically flies right out the window at the sight of him. But before any exasperation can set in, my attention is taken by the other occupant in the room. Isabella perches on the only other chair in the room, attempting to make herself smaller. It seems from how closely she's hugging her arms against her. Nevertheless, she gives me a small smile when she notices my stare. Yet somehow there ain't no worth in it like it's supposed to have.
Hey, Zach. Sorry we just barged in here. Ash was...
Did he want to apologize?
Relax. Z-Man gave me a copy of the key himself.
Only after you broke the 13th one? I can't keep replacing them every time you think it'd be a good idea to break into my apartment. And stop calling me Z-Man!
I didn't break anything this time.
Ash, just because I gave you a key doesn't mean you can just stroll in here whenever you want to. And, hey, is that my...
Ash smirks at me because, of course, he has the gall to smirk knowing what he did. He pops in what's very likely the last piece of chip into his mouth and folds the wrapper neatly on the table before throwing it into the nearby trash. From her chair, Isabella shoots me an apologetic smile as soon as the foil hits the wastebin with a dull thunk. Common sense dictates that I should be angry, but after everything, despite things we've yet to straighten out before it blows up in our faces, having something normal play out in front of me, no matter how childish their antics can get, I can't bring myself to muster even a tidbit of it. Behind me, the television starts blaring the music for the end credits of a movie. They've likely been waiting for a while if Ash has gotten impatient enough to rummage through my cupboards and watch something.
Of course he eats all of it. You know, I was saving that for the weekend. Did you at least share some with Bella?
Don't worry about it. I'm good, Zach.
Really? It's free food, you know? What was that you usually say? You don't say no to free food? What happened?
No, I'm just not hungry.
Ash only shrugs at the question in my eyes. I can't be the only one who finds this vibe she's giving off to be odd, and the guy has no doubt already caught wind of it.
Aye. But if you want something, just say so. I've got a fully restocked pantry right here at your disposal. Still not a 5-star level thing, but for an empty stomach, it'd do.
Unless Ash ate that as well.
Just say the word.
Thanks, Zach. Maybe next time. Food is not really what we came here for. Ash, he's the one who...
She casts a brief glance at Ash, and in an instant he sits up. Every trace of amusement is gone from his face as he clasps his hand in front of him and leans forward. A minuscule gesture meant to ease, yet the grim expression on him tells a different story altogether.
All right, you two, what's this about? I don't like those looks. If this has something to do with the other day, I really am sorry about that. It was rude, and I didn't mean for it to come out that way.
A sharp but tense pause follows. They're both smiling. Under normal circumstances, I'd wait. With these two, the more you force it, the more they'll clamp down on it. But as a handful of seconds continue to slip by, the unsettling feeling in me also grows with it. Soon, it turns into impatience. Before I can demand a response, though, one of them finally speaks up. It is Ashton who first breaks in.
No, don't apologize. I should have listened.
How is everything with you lately, Zach?
Hold on, Ash. Both of you. Did I just hear you say that? Is this why Isabella's here? Has something happened?
Calm down, we're just here to check on things. So, did you meet Andrew about the photos?
What photographs?
Said photographs have been sitting untouched since the day I dumped them in my drawer. Isabella goes very still when I hand her the small stack. To her credit, she does not flinch like I'm expecting her to, and flips through each of it in silence. I'm gonna pause and check the record 41. I should stop soon. But while her eyes remain strangely calm, her hands have gone rigid and her mouth has set into a thin line. She, out of all people, understands what this means. In hindsight, she should have been the one I approached before Ash. Well, the game didn't give me that option. She probably would have been.
What did Andrew say about them?
It could be one, but there's no guarantee it's a supernatural thing. It doesn't always happen. So, that's a dead end right there. Now that I think about it, bothering that guy for this feels pretty silly now. But with the dreams lately...
That's all? Did he say anything about the damn letter at all? Did you ask him even?
I pause, glancing at him skeptically. I don't know where this sudden curiosity is coming from, but if Ashton, calm, cool, collected, always logical Ashton, takes interest in this, something or someone must have fucked shit up somewhere. Or the world is ending. Seconds pass. The apocalypse I'm expecting to go along with it doesn't arrive, however.
Yeah, that's really everything. The letter kind of slipped my mind. The photos were more important at that time. There was some stuff about the local horror stories, though. Talked about the curses, and he was really fascinated with the story about a wraith asking for a sacrifice to move on. Kinda nasty if you ask me. But it does make sense if you simply go along with it. I'm not sure how this will help in the grand scheme of things. Why are you asking about this anyway?
Rose's death isn't just a coincidence, Zach. It may have something to do with... I may have...
Wait. Stop right there for a sec, Bella. I thought you ain't buying this stuff, Ash. Just the other day, you said the exact same thing.
I still don't, but even Rebecca, out of all people, claims there's something. Whatever this is, someone has got to look into it. Everything about this screams shady.
Are you sure you even have the time? Ain't you busy with your current case?
I got taken off that one.
You didn't say you were taken off your case.
I just got the news this morning. Apparently the higher-ups think I'm doing a horrendous job at it.
I bet he's gonna keep investigating.
It doesn't matter though. If these two cases are connected like I initially thought, then regardless, I'm on the right track.
Are you sure we should even be doing this?
Doing what exactly?
There's someplace we'll visit after this.
Too vague for comfort, Ash. And please don't tell me you're bringing her with you.
His affirmation comes in the form of a stare, but that alone says all I need to know. What I pointed out gives him a pause, though, and his voice is thick with hesitation when he addresses Isabella.
You know what? Zach's right, Isabella. You don't have to come with me.
Sure, leave me here to face the ghost alone.
It's not myself I'm worried about. It's you. I'll just do this myself, if it'll get you into more trouble with your superiors. At At least I can make up an excuse why I need to be there.
Don't be ridiculous. You're not walking in there without me. Besides, I think it's a little too late to back out now. Have you two seen the news this morning?
I haven't, actually. Mama called, and I was busy.
Oh boy. Something happened to Papa? The change in the air around her, while small, could not have gone unnoticed, and it takes every willpower not to ask. Probably the only thing reining in my curiosity is the fact that Ash himself hasn't brought it up either.
No problem. It should be in the afternoon news as well.
Uh-oh. He grabs the remote and cycles through numerous channels until he gets to a news report about another guy who has been found dead in the early hours of the morning today. This one doesn't look familiar. Burned alive this time. Oddly, no fire has spread, and whatever damage has been contained within the place the body was found. The room itself, however, has been completely vandalized. Help me. Help me. Help me. Another murder, the authorities claimed. Isabella and I knew better. None of us shifts out even after the report ends, but the room has suddenly felt stifling. Ashton's eyes have gone hooded with what appears to be restrained anger, and the remote in his hand creaks mildly under his grip. The stone is back at my stomach. A tiny little thing gripping at my insides, growing with every passing second as the dread sinks in. In the thick of it, Isabella's voice is the one that breaks the hush. A small, weak thing on its own that wavers unevenly between words, but every syllable heavy with meaning.
This is because of that thing, isn't it? I did this somehow.
When it fades, all that's left in the air is her doubt and fear, while all we can do is cope. Is there something I can say to make her feel better? I gotta say we can still fix this.
It ain't too late. We could still fix this. There's 3 of us here.
Relationship. Yay, pluses.
4 if you count Rebecca.
No, she's staying away from this.
She lifts her gaze at me, eyes steady and shoulders squared as she holds it against the baffled look I give her. Although in the next second it immediately softens and it takes me by surprise nevertheless. In those brief moments, it's like I faced a different person.
I don't want to involve her in this any more than I already have. Both of you as well.
I already said it. That's completely out of the question. Stop asking.
Still in all, that's 2 extra heads who can do the thinking. Between us 3, I'm sure we'll figure something out pretty soon.
Don't make this whole thing sound like it's a piece of cake to deal with.
It ain't. But better than sitting around, yeah? Plan is still a plan.
You're going to shoot yourself in the foot one day with that kind of thinking. We don't even know who's doing this. The last 2 murders might just be similar incidents done by 2 different suspects.
Hasn't stopped you from going after them before. Remember that time when you...
Okay, stop right there. There will be no retelling of that incident today, Z-Man. Or ever.
Keep calling me Z-Man and maybe I will.
Suddenly, Isabella laughs. Though muffled by her hands, it rings light and easy against the thick tension in the room. Still a far cry from the usual cheer she carries, but brings a welcome shift in the otherwise dreary
Thanks,
mood.
you two.
I'll tell you about it when he's not around.
Give it up, Z-Man. She's not interested.
Who says I'm not?
Ash makes a face, but chuckles at the jest despite himself.
Why am I even friends with you two?
And like this, most of our worries ebb away, if only for a few moments. They take their leave mere minutes close to sundown, but regardless of the lighter mood, little has been said of their plans, only vague hints of what they're aiming to do after. While it ain't any of my business to know, something about this whole thing still gnaws at me. A tiny passing thought urges me to do something as well. At this hour, the streets are once again busy with people heading home after a hard day's work. Little of the bustle matters to them as they step out the crowded walkway, however. Ash especially. There's only his goal in mind, and I wager there's nothing I can do to stop him at this point. He's probably decided on it long before they made the decision to drop by. But despite this, Isabella lags behind. A worried crease is back on her forehead as she watches Ash leave to get his car.
Something wrong, Bella?
No, Actually, can you check on Becca for me after this? I really didn't get the chance to tell her where I'm headed off to. Tell her I'm okay, and we're... No, just that. That's all.
If I say Isabella went off somewhere with Ash, she'll freak
You
out.
sure I should skip on that part? If she finds out about this, she'll be angry. I don't really want to deal with angry Rebecca. It gives me a stomachache just thinking about it.
Neither do I, but I'll handle it if she gets mad. Just make sure she's safe and tell her to be careful. You too. Take care of yourself.
Almost abruptly she pauses, the gaze in her eyes hardening as she lapses into another one of those long-distance silences from earlier. This ain't just because of the whole fiasco with the letter
I
anymore.
don't want what happened to Rose to happen to you guys as well.
This one cut deeper. Before I can ask about it, Ashton returns, casually swinging his car keys on one hand and gestures at Isabella.
Come on, we don't have much time. Shirley's waiting.
Whose shirt? Oh, right. Don't answer that. I don't want to hear it, you huge dork.
Says the person who gave her stuffed toys names. Batcat? Really?
It's cute. Yours is just weird. I'll see you later, Zach.
She spares me another smile, and as I watch her walk off, only now did it occur to me that none of those she gave today ever did reach her eyes. I make a grab for the back of Ash's parka. He staggers briefly before correcting himself and shooting me a confused stare.
Is she alright?
What? Who's okay?
Isabella. She's been, I don't know, out of it today?
She's been out of it for a while.
Did something happen earlier?
The scowl on his face says
She's
it all.
actually been like that this morning. I'll ask, but
Just do me a favor and watch over her. We have no idea what we're dealing with. I don't know what happened to her since the last time I saw her, but from how she's been doing today, whatever it is, seems like a pretty big deal. Wait, you didn't annoy her again, did you? Because I swear to God, if you did, you've got another thing coming for you.
Forget the ghost, the real villain is Ash.
what? No. Why would I?
I'm just asking. I'll take your word for it. But if you can find out what's bothering her, that'd be nice. Honestly, I don't think it's the letter this time.
I'll see what I can do.
Make sure you keep yourself out of harm's way, alright?
Yeah, you too. Don't do anything reckless again.
Reckless, no. But I can't make you to promise I won't do anything. After seeing that, there's no way in hell I'm going to pretend there ain't a problem when there is. This is a really big one. And I'll be damned if I let anything happen to you guys while I sit here.
Zachary really is the best character.
I'm done running when things get tough.
He's about to argue for a moment, but
Look, bro, if things ain't good, I'll be the first one out. But allow me this one thing, alright? Just this one time. If it doesn't work out, you'll be the first one to know. You can laugh then, or berate me all you want, but please don't ask me to step aside like I'm incapable of doing anything to help.
I have no idea if it's the look on my face or the tone of my voice. Ultimately, although his mouth presses into a thin line, he nods.
All right. Stay safe, Zach.
When he stumbles into the sidewalk and allows the afternoon crowd to swallow him whole, I like to think the tiny gleam in his eyes is the closest thing we can get to optimism in this situation. Let's see. Upon returning to his apartment, Zachary was greeted by Ashton and Isabella. Now suspicious of what was happening, Ashton informed Zach that he and Isabella will try and get to the bottom of this. He also warned Zach to be careful. This is right before Hannah's pendant. Whether that alone will be enough to give me a peaceful sleep tonight remains to be said. Okay, I'm gonna cut this part here, thankfully with no humming. So, I don't think a lot happened this episode, but I continue to be curious as to what's going on. I hope you're all enjoying it. So, please leave a comment. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!